Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 395 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. I'm Seth, probably better known as Saffron Olive, and we have the full crew here this week, kicking things off with the owner of MTG Goldfish, Richard. How are you this fine Monday, Richard?
Hey Seth, Dominaria spoiler season. Let's go.
This set's so sweet. This set is so sweet, and that's going to be a big topic on our cast today. But before we get into all that, we got another co-hosted, Krim. Good morning, Krim. How are you today?
Morning, Seth. I'm good. Also pretty excited because, we've got, we're pretty much almost at rotation, and we've got, a bunch of new cards, so.
Yeah, so we're right in the middle of Dominaria United spoiler season. We should be getting the full set at the end of this week. We got a ton of cards to talk about, which is going to be one of our big topics today. But we also got some other news to talk about. There was some crazy news in the TCG marketplace just this morning that we had to get to. We got some stuff about other products related to Dominaria United, like Dominaria Remastered, a new Secret Lair drop that we wanted to hit on. And then, of course, we're going to spend a bulk of the cast talking about sweet new Dominaria United cards. So before we do, a reminder that today's show is brought to you by Card Conduit. And Card Conduit, they're the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. And if you're tired of all the hassles that's involved with buy listing your cards, well, Card Conduit's got you covered. They let you skip all the typing, all the time, all the work it takes to sell their cards, to sell your cards. And with their curated shipment service, you can send it as many cards as you want with a buy list value of $1 or more and pay just a 5% service fee. And if you want to put in a little bit of effort on your end, you can use their sorted service where you list and sort your cards ahead of time and pay just a 2% fee. And no matter what option you choose, you're going to get a detailed report with the results in a fast payment once your order is processed. And you can even get another 10% off if you head over to cardconduit.com/mtggoldfish. Card Conduit, they're the easiest way to sell your Magic cards. So let's talk some Magic, and we had some huge news break just this morning. A month ago, we were talking about TCG Player buying out Channel Fireball. Well, today, TCG Player itself was bought out by eBay. Richard, what is going on in the Magic market?
$295 million of what's going on, Seth.
What?
eBay just bought TCG Player. Done. They just said $295 million. It's closing in Q1 2023. So actually just in a couple of months. They're, they gotta do regulatory stuff. I don't know what. But yeah, I got a little email from TCG Player. They said they're still running independently, whatever that means. So, their CEO will continue doing the stuff, but now they're owned by eBay. So, yeah. Talking about you don't like TCG Player marketplace, you can go sell on eBay. Well, that point is moot now.
So this has to be a bad thing, right, for players overall, just because it's more consolidation. Like, we thought there was risk that TCG buying out Channel Fireball could be a bad thing, just because that's less competition, less places for you to sell your cards. And again, this mostly involves selling your cards rather than buying your cards. If you're going to buy cards, you got Card Kingdom, you got Cool Stuff Inc., you got Stars. There's a million options for buying cards. But if you want to sell your cards, it's pretty much just eBay now, eBay/TCG Player. So I don't know. I feel like this is probably a bad thing overall for the community. And at this point, eBay's just kind of got a monopoly on the card market to a pretty huge extent. And I think that the other thing that scares me about this is we're talking about, well, maybe someone can come in and compete with TCG Player. If TCG Player jacks up all their fees and, sellers don't want to use them anymore, maybe someone else can come in and compete with them. That's going to be pretty hard if you're competing with eBay money. Like, eBay, that's like big time real money.
Don't worry, Seth. I got a Kickstarter going. We're just $295 million short. Just got to sell some more playmats. We got it.
Casual $295 million. Okay, cool. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so there's a couple things, right? So this sounds like a lot, but just remember that Whatnot came out of nowhere, and they're worth like $4 billion, and they raised like hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So you can just spring up out of nowhere and then do something, and then get Post Malone to talk about it. So that is a thing. But I think so. The difference between this is when TCG Player acquired Channel Fireball, aside from being smaller scale, TCG Player has its roots in Magic the Gathering, right? It has its roots in collectible card games. Like, you kind of expect that they know what they're doing relating to card games. However, now this is kind of like Hasbro buying Magic, where, yes, a marketplace bought another marketplace, but eBay does not have that history of collectible card games and selling card game marketplaces and things like that, right? So that is what worries me, where some suits will come in and like, yeah, we can increase profit margins XYZ while foregoing kind of like what the collectible community wants. So I feel this one's a little scarier, and also it's just a lot bigger. Like, our last hope is like Amazon buys, I don't know, SCG. I have no idea.
Or Liliana.
Like, Amazon just buys Hasbro, okay? Like, we just buy Hasbro. But yeah, like, there's no real marketplace, right? It's like Amazon or TCG. I guess Card Market in the EU, right? Could do something.
I wish they came over here. Like, that this would be their chance. If they could sneak into the North American market now, that would be absolutely awesome. But
Amazon buys Card Market and then busts into the US market.
There we go. That would do it.
Whatnot buys eBay.
Wait, I think eBay's ahead of Whatnot. I think it'd be the other way, probably.
Twitch buys Whatnot, okay? And then
okay.
And then they buy eBay because Twitch is actually Amazon.
Well,
and then Walmart buys Amazon. I don't know how this goes, Seth. What do we do?
I actually think that, like, if Twitch bought Whatnot, that kind of makes sense, right? Like, that would actually make a lot of sense. So I don't know. I don't think that'll happen, but I'd love if there was someone to buy Whatnot. I think it's them, right? But I think Whatnot's doing fine on its own now. Unless, oh god, what if like eBay buys Whatnot as well and just like
this
truly?
This is the future. You can't put up listings. You got to make TikToks to sell your cards.
Yeah. Like, now when you sell anything, you have to essentially go, like, if that happens, oh god, that'd be so bad, right? Because now all the card places are just under TCG, at least from what I'm remembering.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess we solve this by playing Magic Arena, where you can't sell any of your cards.
Yeah, sure, silver linings, I guess. I do think, though, that this is interesting. I mean, I just found out about this through you all talking about it, so it just sounds a little, I don't know, it sounds interesting, but I'm curious, like, will this mean that, like, maybe eBay will kind of, like, copy the Whatnot model? Because, like, if you've used the eBay app, it's one of, like, the worst apps ever. I don't even think it like works half the time. So do you think now that this means, like, eBay is gonna, like, restructure its mobile app, drop, like, an app that's actually usable you can live stream with, kind of copy essentially the Whatnot model?
Well, just so it's clear, it was TCG Player that got bought out. I think we got Whatnot mixed up in this conversation a little bit, but it's eBay that bought TCG,
right?
So,
but then eBay,
maybe they would copy Whatnot, but I don't think they're actually like actively involved in the mix.
I mean,
really,
I would say this, right?
Point.
So Whatnot cashed in on the collectible surge during COVID,
right?
And this shows that eBay is paying attention to collectibles. Right? Like, they actually know about TCG Player. They actually went through the effort and bought TCG Player. So they're focusing on investing in collectibles. And it would not surprise me if they added a Whatnot competitor or something, like if that turns out to be a real model. But, I expect eBay to further invest in collectibles. Like, more Magic cards, more Pokemon cards, more whatever new cards come out. So this does mean that eBay does care about collectibles, right? And I don't know how the revenue breaks down, like what sells the most stuff on eBay, but apparently collectibles is worth $295 million to them, right? So that's a good thing, right? There's money in Magic cards, that's a good thing, right? But we'll see what they do with this, investment and what they decide to, how they decide to shape the marketplace.
Yeah, and see that's what I mean. I want to see if, like, eBay will then copy, right? Because, like, if they own TCG Player, right, that means, like, I'm curious if they're gonna try to copy the Whatnot, like, app model and the way the live streaming and all that works.
They usually probably will, and it probably won't work, right? Like, Facebook bought Instagram, and then they tried to copy this thing, and then YouTube tried to copy Instagram, and then YouTube tried to copy TikTok, and usually it doesn't work out when the big company tries to copy whatever hot new thing comes up. But maybe it'll work.
And eBay has been heading this direction. Like a year ago, they announced their authenticity guarantee thing, where for cards that were over a certain value, they were essentially going to get them graded or inspected to make sure they're real, because I think there hasn't been a ton of confidence in buying cards off eBay for a while. It was considered risky. You never knew if someone would send you a counterfeit, or like it got a little sketchy, and a lot of people tried to avoid buying on eBay. So I feel like this is kind of a logical next step if eBay really is serious about getting into the collectibles market. TCG Player is, as far as Magic cards go, at least like the biggest name in the US as far as selling Magic cards. So it does make a lot of sense. Also, it sounds like it worked out well for TCG Player employees, which is awesome. Like you never know with something like this, but it sounds like employees all get stock options. So all the response I've seen from people who actually work for TCG Player has been pretty positive about this eBay buyout, because it seems like it's going to work out well for them. So I'm glad that those people got taken care of, at least, because you never know with mergers and buyouts how it's going to go for for all the regular people that are working at these companies. But it sounds like in this case it actually worked out well for a lot of the TCG employees, which is good.
Seth, were you gonna say EB Games?
Who knows what I was gonna say? I think I was just stumbling over my words there. Okay. So maybe, I don't know.
It's like EB Games. Damn, that's a.
Does that still exist? No, right?
I don't think so. I thought that just became GameStop.
Wait. Okay, we're getting off track. All right, forget it. No more EV. No more what? Let's get back to Dominaria.
All right, we got other topics to talk about. Before we get to spoilers, we got two pieces of adjacent news. One is Wizards actually announced Dominaria Remastered, and we were talking about this a little bit last week, or maybe it was on the stream. I don't remember, but it was a set that I was hyped about, and I was a little worried, or Richard, I think, was a little worried that maybe maybe they would mess it up. But
No, it wasn't. I mean, Richard was like a little worried. Let's be honest. I was the biggest downer on it.
But they're doing it right. It's going to contain cards from 27 different sets, basically anything set on Dominaria in the past. And they already previewed a couple cards, and one of them's like an old border Force of Will that looks really good. So what do you guys think about Dominaria Remastered? Like, they're nailing it, right? They're doing it the way that we were hoping that they would do it, but we weren't sure that they would.
So far we've seen Force of Will. That's all I've seen from this. Is there more coming from it?
There will be more cards in this.
I mean, yes.
More than Force of Will.
Yes. I got that, but have we seen any other spoilers? Right?
There's one other card, Aboria. It's like a Legends common or uncommon. But yeah, those are the only two cards that we've seen so far. But they did say on the stream they're pulling from 27 sets, so it's not just like the most recent Dominaria. It's nothing like double feature or anything like that. So
I mean, so like this is like so far pretty cool. I personally like the idea of like the Force of Will that I've seen, the old border, all of that. So it sounds though like I'm curious how many cards will be old bordered. Will it just be like the rare slot? Is that what's going to be in the old border, or what? Because I mean, and will this solve the foiling issue? Because I hope this set, if you open a foil, like if it's like the old foils where you'd see the old WotC stamp and all that, those are great. And they also didn't curl like instantly as soon as they came out of the pack. So so far I like everything I've seen from Dominaria Remastered. So I will be first to admit, like, as of right now, I am eating my words, and I'm super duper happy that it looks good, because I'd rather it be great and not the failed potential that was double feature.
Is it
for old border
more expensive booster box? Like, is it?
It is. So I think the comparison is Time Spiral Remastered. Right now, we've seen boxes for around 200 for places that listed them super early. And Wizards did say during the stream that it is a limited print run set. So my biggest fear is there's not enough of it, because Time Spiral Remastered was awesome, but it ran out of supply super quick and boxes got super expensive, so a lot of people couldn't get them. So that's my only concern really with this set is, will there be enough of it? But yeah, it is an expensive box, limited print run remastered set.
Okay, so the thing is, what will be in it? And Wizards always puts enough value to justify the price on paper, right? At least the pre-reprint price. So we've seen Force of Will, so we'll see other expensive cards, and I think people will generally be happy with it. And like Seth said, depends on the print run whether this makes a dent in Force of Will's price or not.
Right now, boxes, you can pre-order them on eBay for $177. And actually, based on Dominaria Remastered, I'm almost tempted to like pick up a couple boxes because, Laz, I'm just so nervous it's going to run out of supply and be really expensive because that's what happened with that one.
I heard a pro tip from Reddit, I think. So if anything is sold by Amazon, and you're willing to play the Russian roulette of did you get real product or not, you can pre-order on Amazon, and if the price goes down, you get the new price. If the price goes up, your price remains locked in, and you can cancel up until like the day before release. So if it turns out this thing is a bust, you can just cancel. If boxes have doubled in price, congrats, you've like locked in your double profits, right? So pre-ordering on Amazon actually lets you get an advantage on the price.
Oh, and also I'm looking at the listing right now. Some news that we didn't have before. There's a retro frame card in each pack, and also a retro frame land in each pack, which I don't think we had heard that before. So interesting.
So they are gonna fix the issue. I mean, like, not the issue, I guess. Like the thing
you got one new frame and double.
Yeah, you
double
got that
feature,
double
right?
feature,
You're getting it here
right?
too, right? One retro frame in every pack.
All right, one last piece of news. We got a secret lair drop announcement.
Oh.
Richard, what is our next crossover secret lair drop?
Universes Beyond Doctor Who.
Yeah,
I've never watched Doctor Who. I don't know what's going on. Is this cool?
I mean, I think this is cool. I watched Doctor Who, at least maybe not recently, but like because my favorite doctors got swapped out in David. Essentially, they have a new lead every few seasons, and I think I dropped off. I think the 11th Doctor and the 12th Doctor, so I think they're on like 17 now, I believe.
How many episodes or seasons is Doctor Who here? If we have 17 Doctors,
it is a lot. It's a lot of episodes. But the good news is I think you can watch them. Like you don't have to watch them all in like chronological order unless you want to. Because I technically started with the 10th Doctor, Christopher Eccleston. I might be off on the number, but I started off with Christopher Eccleston, and I don't actually know any of the older Doctor stuff. But yeah, like I thoroughly love David Tennant and Matt Smith's run. So that's like, 11th and 12th Doctor. So
okay, wait, Krim, is this series still relevant in 2022?
I believe so, yes, because they just announced like the newest Doctor. Well, again, I do not remember the number of it, but like, yeah, like it's pretty big. It's like big on the like BBC.
Nice. And is it for boomers?
Or
zoomers? It has boomers, right? It's been around for like forever, right?
Yeah, it's been around forever, and I mean, I don't know many zoomers that are loving Doctor Who, and if you do, that's great. Like, let us know.
So I won't have to hear insufferable complaints about Universes Beyond because boomers love this IP and it's popular. It's still relevant. Is that what you're telling me, Krim?
You'll hear that anyways. That's gonna happen as long as magic is magic. You'll hear that. So I don't know. I think it's great news. I don't know. I like it.
I don't know anything about Doctor Who. I thought Doctor Who was a cover band, like Doctors
God.
playing Pinball Wizard or something.
No.
But apparently it's a TV show that's been going since like the 60s. So I don't know. Like it's not for me, but that's fine. I think they said they were doing collector boosters of these, right? And like Commander decks.
Yeah.
I think they're doing it like almost like the Warhammer crossover.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting, I guess. Like
so not modern legal, just Commander legal. So
I believe just Commander,
Doctor Who
Eternal
versus
Legal, or whatever
Gandalf
they
is
call
not
it.
happening. Okay.
I mean,
Not yet.
Could in Commander, but like, I just want you all to know that there's a thing called a Dalek, and it looks like this, like the Monopoly piece, the thimble.
Yeah.
It looks like a thimble with a plunger attached to it, and then like that's like pretty much like one of the scarier evil minions that attack. I mean, there's actually some pretty cool creatures and whatnot, but like. It's a sci-fi show, but it's like a campy sci-fi show.
Interesting. Well, that stuff's coming up in the future. We got some Magic news that's coming right now, which is Dominaria United spoilers. We have so many cards to talk about. Richard, why don't you take it away and guide us through some spoilers, and we'll see how many we can get through.
All right, Dominaria United. This is the next standard set. Standard is rotating, by the way. when the set releases. You can find all the cards on mtgpreviews.com. And first, we'll just start things off with returning mechanics, Domain and Kicker. And this time, the twist on Kicker is you can kick in like different colors, but otherwise it's just Kicker. So you can like have a green spell, you can kick it with like blue mana explicitly. And then we have...
Didn't we have that in Invasion? We had that in Invasion. Yeah, we did,
Okay.
right?
I think
Ignore that.
I think the twist is the multi-kicker part. Like
it's
the
multi-kicker,
kicker cards,
multicolors?
Yeah. Multicolor, multi-kicker. So, like, there's a card that's Urborg Lurgoyf, the new Tarmogoyf.
Yeah.
It's 1 and a green. You can kick it for blue and or black, and you mill 3 cards for each time you kick it. So you can pay 1 and a green and a blue, 1 and a green and a black, or 1 and a green and a blue and a black, and then you'd get the kicker twice. So that's the twist that we haven't seen before, is like the pseudo multi-kicker, not quite multi-kicker, but you can kick it 2 times if you have the right colors.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're just going to ignore this Lurgoyf here. That we're so
Why?
hyped about. It's so bad.
Is it better than Tarmogoyf? I mean, Tarmogoyf isn't that good anymore. Is
I
it
mean, it
on the
dies
same
to
level?
unholy heat just the same, so I guess it's
This is
it's cheaper.
this
It
is
costs you
much
less
worse.
money before you scoop, so
Yeah, oh, that's true. Okay, financially this might be better, but like this is much worse than Tarmogoyf.
it's the Tarmogoyf. It's not Tarmogoyf, right? It's Boneyard Worm, right? It's power and
Right.
toughness equal to creatures. So you need to mill yourself. You need to have lots
In
of
your
creatures.
yard. In your yard.
Yeah,
That's the
so
biggest
this,
thing.
Yeah.
This is rough. And then you're playing Sultai if you want to multi-kick it as well. So it's rough. Is this standard playable? Are we going to see this as standard?
I mean, I'd love to be proven wrong, but I think no. And I will tell you this though. I will play a historic deck, 8 Goyf, and we're gonna we're gonna lose a lot.
I think it's got a chance in standard. I really do. My concern is graveyard hate, but we got like old stick fingers, which cares about very similar things. There's like consuming blob. There's a bunch of self-mill stuff, undead butler, vile spawn spider. So I think there's a chance, but I am worried that like so many good cards, like corpse appraiser, the whole prowler or cemetery cycle, the whole graveyard trespasser, farewell. These are just like main deck cards that just happen to wreck the graveyard. So that's my biggest concern, is there might just be too much hate to make it work, but yeah.
Well, my thing here is like if this card, I think this card would have been way more playable if it checked other types in your yard, right? Like if it's only creatures, is that good? Like God, that's so
if it
bad.
was like number of cards in your graveyard, that would probably be a little busted.
No,
if it was,
card
like,
types.
2 mana.
Card types. So like actually
Isn't-
like Goyf, but only in your yard as opposed to both yards.
I feel like if it's only your yard in standard in specific, I think it's easier just to get a mass of creatures in your graveyard than to get like artifacts and enchantments and all that stuff. So I feel like for standard, I'd rather have it formatted this way. Although in older formats, not that this will see play there, then it gets a lot worse when you can fetch lands into the graveyard or Mishra's Bobble an artifact into the graveyard.
And it would be too broken if it checked all yards for creatures. Because like the fact that it only checks mine makes me real sad.
I do like that it has a toughness. Like Boneyard Worm, I tried to make Boneyard Worm work so much back in original Innistrad, but it's a star, so if things go wrong or on turn 2, you just literally cannot cast it because it'll just die and have 0 toughness. I like that it at least has a toughness, so you can just run it out on turn 2 as a 0/1 and try to grow it throughout the game. But yeah, we'll see. I don't think it's great, but I'm going to try to build around it in standard. Well, we'll see if it works.
All right. So that is a multi-color, multi-kicker. So new mechanics. Enlist. Comes on Guardian of New Benalia. 1 in a white, 2/2, human soldier at rare. When it enlists a creature, scry 2. Discard a card. It gains indestructible until end of turn. Tap it, and then enlist. As this creature attacks, you may tap a non-attacking creature you control without summoning sickness. When you do, add its power to this creature's until end of turn.
Is this super banding?
This is banding.
It's so bad. Which I guess is flavorful for banding, but
Is it bad? You just give this bad boy trample, and then you go to town, right? You suit up your whole team into one indestructible band and go for it.
We're
I feel like
discarding a card to do that though.
Well, Well, like, so you can only tap one creature.
That's true.
So you can tap a creature and add its power. And it also has to not be summoning sick, which I think really limits it. Like, when I
Yes.
think about limited, this is probably a cool mechanic. But think about it in constructed. You play that on turn 2. Turn 3, you play a 3-drop. You can't tap the 3-drop to add some power, so you just, like, have a normal turn. The next turn, is it really going to be worth it to tap down your 3-drop and not have it on defense and not have it on offense to, like, just grow the power on your 2-drop? In limited, maybe, but I feel like in constructed, most of the time, you'd rather just use your creatures, because presumably you're playing creatures because they're good and they further your game plan and do something more than just tap down to add a little power to something else. So, I don't know. I do like that this card. I think the card itself is pretty good. Reminds me a little bit of like Season Hollowblade. We've seen these white 2-drops that can protect themselves be pretty powerful. So I feel like the card itself is good, but I feel like the Enlist mechanic is probably sweet and limited, but I would be surprised if Enlist was like something we did a lot of in constructed.
You're not maximizing banding, Seth. What you need to do is play this bear. That's a 2-mana 2/2. It scries 2. It's basically Charming Prince, okay? We know how strong that card is. And then on turn 3, you play like a 3-mana 10/1. Okay. And then on turn 4, you enlist the 10/1 and then attack with Guardian of Benalia. I think like you need to play creatures that suck at attacking, or like you have a wall, like the defender creature can enlist.
Tap down at 0, the 0/4 to add 0 power.
Your 10/1 wall, Seth. Come on, you haven't seen the full spoiler yet. But there's gotta be something. It would help if you had trample, because otherwise you're just setting up this like ban to get chump blocked. You're like, what did I accomplish? But you need like creatures that are bad at attacking. Or maybe
vigilance,
like a Magda type creature that you get something from like tapping, like a crew or something.
I could see that if there's ways to benefit from tapping your creatures, then that gets a little bit more exciting. We've seen like Magda with just spare a Sentinel be pretty powerful at various points in Standard as a way to like tap your Magda without actually having to put it into combat. So if we get some stuff like that, then I might be on board. And we haven't seen much of this set yet, so maybe we get those payoffs. But I think just like playing it fairly, just being like, oh, Guardian of Benalia, that's the 2-drop in my human aggro deck or something. I think you're mostly going to be disappointed playing it that way.
Okay, next mechanic is the stun counter. We have Impede Momentum, 1 in a blue, sorcery at common. Tap target creature and put 3 stun counters on it. If a permanent with a stun counter would become untapped, remove one from it instead, 1 counter. And then Impede Momentum has Scry 1.
I love this mechanic. So this card itself, it's probably a limited card. I don't think this is a card that's going to really show up in constructed, but I love this stun counter mechanic because I feel like it allows wizards to give blue better removal, but to do it in a way that's still really blue. We're not doing let's break the color plane, just let blue exile everything or whatever. No, we're doing it in a way that feels blue. Tapping stuff down is very blue. The problem with tapping stuff down is it's really usually limited to tap something down or tap it down and it doesn't untap the next untap step. But there's no flexibility there. Thanks to stun counters, now you can have tap something down, it doesn't untap the next 3 untap steps, which is essentially what this card says, but without the memory issues that would keep wizards from ever putting that on the card. So I feel like this is actually just like a really awesome way to power up blue's removal without just blatantly breaking the color pie and throwing that out the window.
I do think that the one thing that's not blue about that example exactly, Impede Momentum, is that it's sorcery speed. Come on now, what is this? Come on now, what is this? This should be on my opponent's turn.
And you get to scry. Like, I don't know. Could you play this card in constructed, Krem, or is this just limited fodder?
This card is terrible in constructed.
Okay.
Well, because
it's a great mechanic, a terrible card. You can't play this.
I hope that we get something better, but right now, again, they drop something with haste. Cool. I will hold on to this. I don't know. I like the mechanic though. I just do not like the card.
Yeah. No, it's just a random comment. I think this is kind of like draft filler, really. I don't think it's really going to be a constructed card, but I'm excited to see what they can do with the mechanic to give blue some more flexible removal.
Well, they kind of did, just not in this one.
This is the common one. You need the rare mythic with stun counters on it, which we don't have.
I mean, in theory, this would probably still break the color pie, but couldn't you be put 10 stun counters on something and essentially just have a hard removal spell, like in most situations.
That works, right? Because if your creature has like a passive or something, right? Like it's still not removed, right? So it's just infinitely tapped down, right? Which blue has.
It's blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish they put this on older cards. Like the does not untap during its next whatever's upkeep or whatever. Like it's so confusing. Like they should have made stun counters a long time ago. And
I wonder if they'll errata it. Like I wonder if we'll see those tap doesn't untap the next untap. Like I wonder if they'll just errata it. I guess there's an actual difference because of like proliferate or solemnity. Like there are cards that make it not exactly the same, so they probably can't errata it, but it is much cleaner. I think the wording is much cleaner with stun counters.
Why stun and not sleep? Hasn't this always been a sleep effect?
Ooh. Yeah, that's a good point. Sleep counters might have been even better for a name.
All right. Last new mechanic, read ahead. Comes on the phasing of Zhalfir 2 blue. It's a saga, and it has read ahead. So choose a chapter and start with that many lore counters. Add one after your draw step. Skipped chapters don't trigger. Sacrifice after 3. So basically, you can start sagas like wherever you want them to be. And the phasing of Zhalfir 1 and 2, another target non-land permanent phases out. It can't phase in for as long as you control the phasing of Zhalfir. And then chapter 3, destroy all creatures. For each creature destroyed this way, its controller creates a 2/2 Phyrexian black creature token.
This is speaking of like, Blue's wheelhouse. I don't think this is in it, but I absolutely love it.
Blue gets a wrath, right?
Yeah, like this
straight wrath.
If blue were to have like a destroy style wrath, I guess this is as blue as it could be, I guess, because I'm thinking of like Curse of the Swine, things like that. I'm also in love with the fact that I can phase out my own things. This, like, some people will be like, well, why not just go read ahead, right? And being able to jump ahead and just immediately blow up everything is cool, but the tempo play of like forcing your opponent to slow down their play while you protect your own play, like you can actually preemptively play this. Like I could just play this on 4 with a few of my creatures, and then you can choose whether or not you want to commit into it. So I kind of like this. I think this card's really good.
I love the mechanic. I think that read ahead, like sagas are already one of the best thing that Wizards has made in the last like few years. Just like they're so cool. The designs are good. They're fun to play with. And I think that read ahead adds a really interesting twist of having this flexibility where you can kind of play them like a saga split cards almost, but they're still sagas. They're still enchantments. You got all the same shenanigans and counter manipulation. As far as the card itself, like I could see playing this in Commander. Curse of Swine's pretty popular in Commander, and this seems like it's mostly an upgrade. I guess exiling matters sometimes, but if you want to get rid of everything with Curse of Swine, it's a lot of mana because it's 2 in X and you exile X things. This gets rid of everything for 4 mana. The problem is you can't play this in Constructed, right? Are you hyped about this in Constructed, Krim, or in like Commander? Because I feel like I was thinking about like, oh, I'm playing a control deck against mono white or mono red. Is turning all their stuff into 2/2s actually helping you much? Like, is that actually really doing much of anything?
This is a Commander card. I do not. Okay. I do not think this is good and standard. I like.
Man won't play Swan Song. You want him to give the whole army of Black Phyrexians?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm coming around on Swan Song. All right, like sometimes. But like, yeah, like this card is super sweet in Commander. In Constructed, I just would rather play a board wipe, like a real board wipe, one that doesn't leave my opponents with things that I'm trying to actively remove.
This is still unplayable in Commander as well.
What? Really? Even in mono blue?
Again, I would play literally anything. I would play Boom Pile, Navinral's Disc, Ugin, Karn, all is dust, like literally anything before this board wipe, which will probably kill me. At least Curse of Swine, you could like just like remove the one thing and use it as spot removal, right? But this thing just like it's gonna get you killed. I don't consider it a board wipe at all. Like you need to play a combo deck or something. Like I don't know, you do this in Psych Rift. But then, like, did you need a combo card with Psych Rift? I'm not sure. I don't know. Is it really a board wipe you're happy with? Like, you leave, like, a couple Phyrexians on the battlefield, they'll kill you anyway, right? You're going to get a second board wipe to clean it up? Like, what are you going to do?
I'm not happy with it, but I do think that, like, in mono blue, I'd probably at least try it. Like, people play a lot of Curse of Swines. That is like legitimately a staple. If you look on EDH Reg, I don't play a lot of Curse of Swines, but a lot of people do. So I think people, rightly or wrongly, are going to treat this as like a mono blue staple.
I like it. I think it's such a sweet card in Commander. So
I also like that you can, like, the first lore counter is pretty cool. The phase out stuff, like,
Yeah.
it's nice that you can protect your stuff. There's also some just like cool manipulation. If you knew any counter manipulation where you can keep removing the counters, you can just like keep phasing something out every turn and keep that stuff phased out. So I think it's a really cool card. It's a cool card. We'll see how good it ends up being, but please don't play this in your standard deck. You will be very, very sad.
I guess you could try it out in your standard deck. I don't know if it's like good or not. I mean, actually, I'm pretty sure it's like awful.
What if it's like a blue self-sacrifice zombie deck or something? It's not a zombie, Phyrexian deck.
I do like that it can give your opponent a bunch of creatures. Like, if you're trying to get him with the Dagger Burn plan and Trespassers Curse him, or like play this into Massacre Worm combo, like, how does anyone beat that? You're just dead.
It's a lot of hoops that you just went through. That's like 10 mana worth of nonsense, but yeah.
All right, let's go on to the main set. I've been waiting all week. The high-profile reprint. Thank Mark Rosewater's not 3 fairy or 5 fairy, but Liliana of the Veil. 1 black at Mythic. Legendary Planeswalker Liliana. 3 starting loyalty. +1. Each player discards a card. -2. Target player sacrifices a creature. -6. Separate all permanents target player controls into 2 piles. That player sacrifices all permanents in the pile of their choice.
I am really
they did it.
excited. Yeah, I'm excited to see how this plays in Standard. I mean, I know that already in Pioneer, there's no good red and black mid-range deck that this could go into. So, like, we'll see if it makes its way into that deck in Pioneer. But at least in Standard, because the last time this card was in Standard, it was bad. Like, it was, like, pretty bad. Lingering Souls existed, so it's like, cool Lily, I guess. I don't know. I did not like this the last time it was in Standard. However, now, it might have a chance.
I am really excited to see Liliana back. I think in Standard, it's going to be interesting. There are some build-around synergies. We were just talking about the new Goyf that wants stuff in your graveyard. They printed the Raven Man, which when you discard a card, you get to make a bird token. Like, there's some ways to take advantage of it in Standard, but really, Pioneer, that's where this card is going to really have a huge impact, I think. Krim was kind of memeing on Rakdos mid-range, but that's like legitimately the most played deck in Pioneer right now, and Liliana's just a perfect fit for what that deck's trying to do. You already got stuff like Tenacious Underdog, plus it's just a good value planeswalker. Seems great in Greasefang, another way to like discard stuff from your hand that works with the Greasefang plan. Sacrifice decks could play it. You'd play it in Jund Sack or whatever. So I think in Pioneer, we're going to see Liliana really have an impact, because Pioneer, it's like what Modern was when Liliana was really good. Like Modern from like 5 years ago, 7 years ago, when Liliana was at its peak and like Jund was the best deck in the format. That's kind of where we're at with Pioneer now, as far as the speed of the format and like the mid-range battles. So I think that Pioneer is where I'm especially hyped to see Liliana take off.
Is that why?
But what do you think, Richard?
Is that why people bought a ton of like Deathrite Shamans over the last couple of days?
Ooh, it might be for the Pioneer decks, or just like maybe it's speculation that it gets unbanned at some point. I don't know if that could play into it, but how good do you think Lilia would be, Richard? You're the Liliana master. Like, what do you think about Standard and Pioneer?
I'm so excited for this because Liliana is probably the hardest planeswalker to use in the game. Is this right? Can we say this? Like, who would be up there? Like, the +1, you don't want to use all the time. You can like really set yourself back by +1ing incorrectly. You can ultimate incorrectly. You can ultimate at the wrong time. Like, oftentimes it's not correct to ult. People are like, oh, 6 ult, and it's wrong. You can also split the piles incorrectly. If your opponent has a creature, do you put down Lily and -2, or do you put down Lily and +1 and absorb the hit? So I actually think Lily's actually one of the hardest planeswalkers to use of all time. Maybe like Jace, but because you have to brainstorm, but you're brainstorming every turn. So like, is that even hard? But yeah, so
I mean, there were times you had to figure out like planeswalkers, like that era of planeswalkers. It wasn't so obviously just like one-sided good stuff.
Yeah.
So like like Jace being forcing you to like know what to fate seal, when to fate seal. You know, like go up in counters, brainstorm. Lily the same way, right? Like, do I activate this turn? It's actually not always correct to just activate every turn, and also required you to like play around it, like, you know, and plan for it. Hey, this
don't
next
get
card, I'm
Cryptic
gonna hold
Commanded and lose your Lily. I guess nowadays it's Brazen Borrower. right? Or the best is getting rules lawyered by Lily. Oh, I got so many good stories. If your opponent has a ley line of what's the white ley line that can't
Sanctity?
be targeted? Sanctity.
And
You alt Lily, you ultimated yourself. So,
Yep.
so someone can call a judge on you. If you declare you alt Lily, someone has a ley line out, you just altered yourself. Good luck. And then the arena/moto special. So you choose the pile to sacrifice. So many times people choose the wrong pile on moto.
Yep.
I want to see how arena handles this. Whether they intend the right pile to be kept or not on a Liliana alt. Will be hilarious.
You know there's gonna be angry comments on Reddit from people who sacrificed the wrong pile. It took me like a while to do it right on Magic Online. There definitely have been many times when I intuitively think, oh, pick the pile I want to keep. So I just click on the one I want to keep, and then there goes all my good stuff. GG, shame scoop time.
And then in Historic, you can now Thoughtseize into Goyf into Lily.
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing.
I think that's
and then get destroyed by some alchemy cards.
They built Jund. You can actually pretty much play Modern Jund, very close to Modern Jund in Historic now.
Yeah.
Is that going to make you play Historic, Richard? Is Liliana going to change how you play Magic? Because I know it's like your favorite card, right? That was Goldfish. Wasn't it codename Liliana before you actually
it's
named it
still
Goldfish?
every day I go to the directory called Liliana and I do my work. So yes, she's my favorite Planeswalker of all time. But I think people hear of her and like Modern Jund and they think she's like the best ever, but she's like very situational. So it'll be interesting to see if she actually has a home in Standard. Like Krim said, during the first time around, she was like okay, right? There was like one deck she could go into. It's not like a 3 fairy where you try to like splash the colors and jam into every deck you can imaginable. It's double black and you need to do specific things. So I played Lily in original Standard.
Dude, she was so bad, except for against Geist.
Yo, all those Geist to say trap players cried so hard when they played me, right? But
did they though? Because those decks also probably didn't care.
But yeah, I will jam her in Standard. I don't think she's good in 2022. We'll see with the power creep cards. But like that +1 is not a real ability most of the time, especially if you're playing like mid-range battles. It's really good against like control or a combo where you're trying to get rid of their hand, but cards are so efficient nowadays. You don't need a 3-card combo to win the game. You need 1 card. So that Lily +1 is sad.
Outside of Croxa, I think this Lily, believe it or not, as much as I meme on it, like just like, easily slotting into Rakdos midrange, I think this will help with a lot against Rakdos decks, believe it or not, because one of the Rakdos deck's most powerful threats is Graveyard Trespasser. But now that you can just like immediately play this, get rid of a Trespasser while eating away at the hand, this card's pretty good. I in a Rakdos mirror, right?
Yeah, I think
it is nice that you get around the board.
Place for this card because I think Historic you're gonna get power crept by alchemy cards. Standard,
I don't know. I mean, I've been playing Jund in Historic, and it's been pretty fun. I think the issue has been finding a Bob replacement. I'm using Glint Sleek Siphoner. Oh, it's Tarmogoyf
is it
isn't
fun or is it good?
Tarmogoyf's like pretty bad, right? I played a little Jund too, and the deck is pretty good, but Goyf most of the time is like the worst card in the deck. Sometimes you hit the right matchup and it's like, oh, I got him. It's like a 5/6, and this is awesome. But most of the time, it's people like running out 1/2s and 2/3s, and I'm just like,
yo, that's a great nice Goyf. Yeah, like I actually feel like I skipped a draw step every time I hit a Goyf.
And then new art. If you want to upgrade your art, Lily's still pretty expensive. Kind of sad. The price memory on this card is very strong.
Hopefully it keeps coming down. It's right now the pre-sales are listed. Well, the mid is listed at almost 50, but you can pick up copies on Card Kingdom for 35. So hopefully it drops down like 30-ish, which is a pretty big drop from where it was before.
Yeah. I mean, this is what the first new art for Lily of the Veil?
Was there a promo art? I'm trying to think if there was like
it's always been the Steve Argyle art, and now we have 2 new arts. The borderless version has a new art, and then the main set version has an art. So now you have 3 arts.
Borderless version of Liliana of the Veil?
There is, yeah. I mean, the new arts.
Oh, I love that one.
The new art's good, but boy, the old art's just so iconic at this point that I don't know. I think it's still my favorite just because I've been playing with it for so long.
I mean, the new art, the new art just looks like a photo.
Now.
See, Richard, now you get it. Now you get it.
I need the anime Liliana. Okay,
you do.
Dreadhorde,
mix and match.
Get out of here. Give me a new Liliana of the Veil.
Ooh, done by Amano also. Oh, okay, what you do here, though, is you mix and match now. Because you can finally do it. Innistrad, RPTQ, new one, full art. Boom. 4 different artworks. I'm totally in love with the full art one. That one's way cooler. The one that's here is like obviously really pretty, but it kind of just looks like I took a photo and I just put on a card. And then
it's done so well. It looks like a cosplay.
It looks too real. Whereas Liliana the Veil, the full art one, like she looks way more along the lines of like Professor Onyx and actually has like zombies behind her, and looks way more like a necromancer, and I super duper like that.
Okay. We got a lot of cards to get through, so let's zip through. We'll go Karn Living Legacy. 4 generic mana, legendary planeswalker Karn, 4 starting loyalty. +1, create a tapped Power Stone token. It's an artifact with tap, add colorless. This mana can't be spent to cast a non-artifact spell. -1, pay any amount of mana, look at that many cards on the top of your library, then put one of those cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. -7, you get an emblem with tap and untapped artifact you control. This emblem deals 1 damage to any target.
This card's bad.
You said it was top 5 versus Planeswalker.
I think there's a real argument that this is one of the worst non-Planeswalker deck Planeswalkers that's ever printed. Like, it doesn't do anything good. It's -1. It's kind of Aladdin's lamp. Like, it is such a horrible way to draw a card. The artifacts that make you can't use them on anything. It doesn't ramp you for much relevant stuff. It doesn't protect itself at all. When I first saw it, I was like, okay, this is a plant for the future. We know we're going into Brothers War. Wizards is already hyping up big artifacts. We know we're going back to Mirrodin or Phyrexia, which is all about artifacts. But after thinking about it more, I don't think any amount of big artifacts is going to save this card. I think this is just like absolutely stone unplayable and literally one of the worst planeswalkers they've ever made.
I agree with that entirely. I saw this and I was like, art's really cool. but like other than that, like this is awful. I don't know. I mean, maybe I get proven wrong and I'd love to see how, but like this card is bad.
I hope I'm proven wrong because Karn's sweet. I love, like, Karn is just like such an iconic character, so it kind of makes me sad to see just like such a bad version.
So is this
the
Karn
token is tapped?
You know
so
what?
Can't even ramp on that same turn.
Whenever a planeswalker has living in it, it's bad. Jace the Living Guild Pack, Karn the Living Legacy, like oh my god.
Yeah, what do you do with it on turn 4? You play this on turn 4. You +1 to make a tap artifact token that doesn't do anything. You -1, but you can't draw a card because you gotta have mana available to even be able to draw a card with it. It's just like 4 mana do literally nothing. Like also, nothing. And then it just gets attacks and dies.
The humorous thing is the emblem is not good. It's like you can ping for 1. Like I would have to emblem.
I actually think the emblem's all right.
All right? Are you for an okay? In terms of like just like yes, maybe general things to have happen when you tap your artifact. Sure, that's great. But this is a planeswalker ultimate we're talking about, dude. Like it's not even like oh my god, it's offensive. It's actually just offensive. Like what is this?
By the time you ult, you would have what 3 power stones?
Yeah. Oh, so you could lightning bolt. I can ghost fire you. Like if I tap all my artifacts that I can't even use on anything else. Oh my god.
I wouldn't worry about it because there's no way this is living long enough to ultimate. Like actually, that's just not a thing that can happen.
I believe you might see this ultimate more than you would think because no one will care about it.
Because no one cares.
Like I remember this reminds me when I had Tybalt out and then my opponent just didn't even attack Tybalt.
Yeah. This is hurting you more than it's helping you. Please keep randomly looting your hand away.
Like, what happened to this card that the -1 you have to pay mana and -1 to look at a card and draw a card? Like I don't understand why it's so expensive. Why is it not like look at like equal to number of artifacts you control or something, right? Or like a 0 pay mana and draw, or like why do you have to pay mana and loyalty? Like I'm so confused.
We've never seen that before, right? I believe this is the first loyalty ability that you have to pay mana for it to do anything.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure. I feel like this is a card that maybe was like
Power Stones on.
You can. The way it's worded really weirdly is the mana from the Power Stones can't be spent to cast a non-artifact spell. So you can use it to pay for abilities, which I guess is a little upside, but yeah, there's no way this
good
card
old double
is going
negative.
to be good.
Do you think this would be fine at 2 mana?
I think this would have been good at actually good at 2 mana, but then like passable at like 3.
Yeah, at least then you could look at it like a bad mana rock.
Yeah,
but at 4, it's just like
3 mana make a Power Stone and then it dies. That's so.
I look at this and I look at Oko and I'm like, what happened? Okay,
this feels like a card that was broken. I bet this.
Do not bring that up because we are returning.
I bet this was broken. I bet it was super push and they had to tone it down. That's the only thing that makes sense to me is this was like broken during playtesting, so they just like we got to make it safe and just made it unplayable.
I thought at first when I first read this, the Power Shard thing or Power Stone thing. What was the one from the Dominaria that we recently came from? Is the
Power Stone Shard that makes a bunch of mana and is actually good.
Right,
yeah.
the one where it adds an additional one for each other copy of Power Stone Shard.
Yeah, that's what I thought this was too.
Yeah, and then
that would have been good.
This is just a terrible like Lotus Petal looking thing.
It's not even Lotus. It's like delayed Lotus Petal. Like, oh my god.
Okay, how about a Johnny Sleeper Agent? 1 green, Phyrexian, green, white, and then white. So 4 mana, 4 loyalty, completed. So you can pay life instead of that Phyrexian symbol, 2 life. And if it was paid, you start with 2 fewer loyalty. +1, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature or planeswalker, put it into your hand. Otherwise, you may put it on the bottom of your library. -3, distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among up to 3 target creatures. They gain vigilance until end of turn. -6, you get an emblem with whenever you cast a creature or planeswalker spell, target opponent gets 2 poison counters. What happened to the planeswalkers in this set?
I don't know. This is so bad.
Really? You think a Johnny's? I don't think a Johnny's so
I mean,
bad.
it's not.
It's
Karn
not
bad.
like a Karn or something.
Well, it's not Karn living. I mean, it's not a Johnny living sleeper agent. So we're good there, right? We know it passes that check. But like, I don't know. I don't think this is that great. I like the -3, but God, that could have been like what? It would have been broken if it were -2. Like if I play this for its Phyrexian cost, it like dies. So it doesn't even like you can't even use the -3.
You can't use it. It starts
yeah, you gotta plus it.
I like it. I think it's like okay. I think this is like just perfectly okay. The other planeswalkers in this set are way better, but like this one is just okay. I don't hate it. It's not Karn Living Legacy, but it's also just I guess I like it more than the other completed planeswalker. I don't know. Ever since the so far of the 2 completed planeswalkers, the only thing I've noticed that when they get completed, they are very mediocre. Like
So I actually think a Johnny is decent. I think you got to be in a specific deck. You need like a Coco style deck where you're playing like 30 creatures or planeswalkers. If you're like 50% to draw a card with the +1, then I think it's in the conversation, and doubly so if you have some sort of +1/+1 counter synergy. So I think it's like the kind of decks that would want this are pretty narrow. There's not a ton of them, but in those specific decks, I think a Johnny's fine. I don't think it's going to be the best card in your deck, but I don't think it's going to be super disappointing. And then the ultimate I think is actually kind of good. It reads weird, but it's a little bit like Chandra Torch of Defiance, where if you cast so many spells, you win the game. And a Johnny casts 5 spells and you poison your opponent out of the game. We'll have to see if you get more poison stuff. I guess maybe that would be even better, but it still is, win the game if you can survive for a few more turns and cast a few more spells. So I don't think it's great, but I think it's like,
well, Chandra's emblem will kill you, right? Like faster than this one. This one is like cool.
It'll kill you faster.
This one I can't.
But
I can't
put
still poison
kills
counters on your planeswalker, right? Like what if I want to redirect for removal?
That's
like
it's not as good as Chandra's ability, but it's still like it'll still close out the game, right?
Eventually, yeah, sure.
You have to cast 5 spells to kill your opponent with poison counters, and you need to assume that they did not do anything to stop you. Like with Chandra, you can like hit them down with like creatures, right? Like you can get them low, and then the emblem can finish them off or whatever, right? So
and you can kill creatures or whatever if you're in a pinch.
I feel this is like the Liliana case where you get to 6 loyalty, you may not want an emblem. You may want to sit there and keep +1ing one to draw cards or whatever, right? Or get more +1/+1 counters, but. I think this card sucks. I think it's poo-poo.
Yeah.
I think, yes, there's one deck, and that deck is exactly go wide +1/+1 counters. But even then, those are usually token decks,
Yeah.
and token decks are usually not creature decks, so it seems really bad. I don't know what happened to the Planeswalkers in this set. They just
I mean, Liliana and Jaya.
Yeah, I think Jaya.
I think we
and Lily are
all
great.
like those two. Karn, horrible. Ajani, I'm still sticking with medium. I don't think it's as bad as you guys do, but it's
you like
it's not an
defected teams
all-star.
where no one cares. Like,
Yeah.
just go, whatever. Yeah, go
I'm
over
the
there.
worst
It's fine.
player on your sports team, and I've switched teams. Oh, okay, dude. Cool.
All right. Children, the Apocalypse. 2 black, legendary creature Phyrexian Praetor at Mythic. 4/5, Death Touch. Whenever you draw a card, you gain 2 life. When an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life.
Speaking of the Planeswalkers, right? You know, and how much they've fallen this set. What is this? Like, okay, I'm not talking Commander. In Commander, this is awesome. I think this is a fun card there. I'm talking 60 card constructed here. We're talking standard. This is like doo-doo, right? Like it doesn't even draw me an additional card. Like it doesn't even trigger itself.
It is
you know,
a 4-mana 4/5 Death Touch. It is a body.
I don't think it's bad.
No. Okay, let me rephrase. I think it is bad for a Sheoldred. I think that the recent return to Praetors, only Vorinclex and Jin were like really good. Like, oh my god, Urabrask is like caca water. This card is like real caca water. And then like, I mean, like, so what? Like you play this and then what? Right? Like I just spent 4 mana for a 4/5.
It's
I
Siege
feel
Rhino.
like this is actually a good card. Like I feel like so. I get what Crim's saying because my impression is like it doesn't feel epic to me, and I was expecting the Praetors to feel more epic, like these huge, flashy, like effects. And Sheoldred doesn't feel like that. But I feel like from a more spiky perspective, isn't this like a decent card? Like it reminds me a little bit of Obsidian Ghost Council, how like it's draining for 2 every turn cycle. You're gaining life, your opponent's losing life, and you're getting a pretty like decent body of 4/5 Death Touch for 4 is like pretty reasonable. I don't know. I feel like it's just like a random mid-range threat. I would play this in a standard deck, I think, potentially.
Funny enough, like this doesn't pass the like. Give me a Siege Rhino.
Dies to Doomblade.
Okay, well, actually, doesn't die to Doomblade.
Okay, it
Richard.
doesn't die to Doomblade technically, right? But essentially, so if you play this and you get to untap with it, it's like kind of Siege Rhino, right? You assuming your opponent drew 1 card and you draw a card, you dealt 2 damage, gain 2 life. It's a 4/5 Death Touch. The problem is it's legendary, so if you have multiple of these, you get flooded. It actually dies to removal quite easily. So I actually think it kind of sucks. Like you just play it and then hope your opponent draws a bunch of cards and then they die. Like
Yeah.
is that the game plan with this?
Make
like,
'em-
they're
make 'em
digging
draw
for an
cards.
answer, right? And they're like drawing 5 cards and they die and I got you, right? Like is that what's going on? Like it doesn't seem strong enough for today's standard. We'll have to see what the standard looks like, but a 4-mana 4/5 Death Touch, would you play that?
No,
That
right?
seems like an uncommon.
Yeah.
Right?
That's the problem. Like it doesn't do anything, right?
Remember
Like,
Reaper of the Wild, Seth? That was a 4-mana 4/5 Death Touch.
Yeah, but this is like stabilizing you against aggro. It's draining your opponent with direct damage.
Yeah.
I think the drain ability, I think you're underrating. Like, I feel like you play this against mono red or mono white and you just slam it and it's a body they can't easily get through. And you're gaining 2 a turn, which means they're not going to be able to burn you out or whatever. I don't know. I guess.
I'll buy that.
Mono White can get through this
Yeah.
pretty easy.
I mean, it's got Death Touch. Worst case, it trades with Adeline or
No,
something,
they
even if it's
just
big.
brutal
But...
Cathar it, or they
Oh, yeah, I
they
mean,
just
they can kill
remove it,
yeah.
right? Which is like why mono red, sure, but mono red's a meme in like standard, so like.
Yeah, they got Lightning Strike now,
Oh,
Grim.
oh,
Look
you're
out.
right. Okay,
Bird's coming
okay.
for you.
You know what I was hoping? Like, there's a part of me that was hoping this would be like a lightweight or some kind of a Phyrexian Obliterator adjacent thing.
Ooh,
But
that would be sweet. We could use some more Obliterators. It's been a while.
at least then mono red can't just like swing into it, right? Like, or do whatever. But this card is just kind of, it doesn't do enough. I'm sorry.
I think it depends on the metagame. Like if everyone is playing like mono red and flame slash or whatever, like this card is a house, right? If people like, can just remove this easily and this doesn't, it's like mid-range fast and you play this, then you're super sad about this card. So I think it depends on the metagame. I think
We still
You're
have
both
all
right.
of
Seth is
Capenna.
right. There's like some metagames where this thing will be really good. You might put in your sideboard, you might put it in main deck. And then there's other metagames where this does like literally nothing and you're so sad every time. You would pitch it to Lily +1, right? And play your land instead.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so I don't know, right? It powers up Goyf.
I know we're
You
it
can
does.
say
Creature
that
in the
in
graveyard.
2022 standard. It powers up the Goyf.
I know we're running long, but I gotta ask you guys about this one card real quick because this was a big topic on social media, and I want to know if I'm the one that's off base or if the rest of the world is actually crazy. And that's Plaza of Heroes. It's a new land. Comes into play untapped. It can make a generic mana. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color, but only spend it on legendary spells. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color among legendary permanents you control, and you can pay 3, tap it, exile it to make target legendary creature gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. When this was spoiled, pretty much everyone I saw was saying, this is a new commander staple. This is Command Tower. You play this in every single deck. You got a commander that's a legend. This will help you cast it. And then once you get your commander, this is going to be an actual Command Tower. And you got the upside of protecting things. This card is so insane. When I read it, I was like, I don't know. It seems good in like legendary tribal, but I wouldn't play this in every commander deck. So am I off base here? Is this a new ultra staple in commander that you play, just slam it in every deck and it's going to work out? Or is it more limited than that in your opinion?
I do not think this is an auto include. Like, it does not actually just make a mana instantly, right? It is, or it does, but like not one that might matter. Because I do care about my colored resources, and this only will give me that if I have a commander or cast
another
a
legend or
legendary
something,
spell,
yeah.
right? Like, which is why I think it's great in legendary tribal, like a Sisei deck. I think that deck is going to be an all-star in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you're a legendary matters, it's great. And I could see an argument for like mono-colored Voltron for the protection ability. If you're playing like mono-green Thrun or mono-black Yargle, maybe you play this as just an extra way to protect your creature.
Correct.
But what do you think about this one, Richard?
You know, I only play like 2 basic lands, and there's a problem with it. So if you care about your commander in any way, I think this card is an auto include. If you're playing like a 2-3 color deck, do you just slam this in because it's like kind of bad command tower but protects your commander? I'm like, maybe. But like, would you play Field of Dead or would you play this? Or would you play, insert any utility land? There's so many utility lands in Commander now that I think, this has a hard time slotting in. So I would say if you care about your commander living, like really care about it, like it's like your engine or your Voltron or something, then you play this card. If not, I would guess like random utility land is better than this.
There's a lot of competition these days. There's so many lands competing for those finite. I mean, you need dual lands. You need some number of basic lands. And then there's so many utility lands competing for whatever
Like,
slots you have
would you
left
play a
over.
Lock over this?
Oh, so I actually don't think the protection ability is that great in most decks. You do got to leave up 4 mana. Like you need 3. And you have to tap
blow
this,
up your own land.
and it exiles. That's a high cost. Like leaving up 4 mana in case someone interacts with your thing. I think, like you said, Richard, you have to be a deck that really cares. Like if I can protect my commander or whatever, I win the game with it. Then it's probably worth it to leave up 4 mana. But I think just like in a generic deck, I imagine that I would mostly be just tapping this for whatever mana I can get out of it rather than trying to leave up 4 mana to protect something. It just seems like a really high cost for protecting stuff.
Yeah, I agree with Seth. This was unplayable. Hold on, wait. I played Tyrant of Sanctum. How does this stack up?
Ooh.
Wait, I forgot what the card actually does. Let me try to.
That's the Kaldheim one, right?
What is it
Trite
called?
Sanctum. Trite Sanctum comes into play untapped. Pay 2, tap it. It makes a generic mana.
Yep.
Pay 2, tap it. Target legendary becomes a god. In addition to its other types, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Pay 4, sack it. Put an indestructibility counter on target god. So more to get going, but it can potentially let you give something indestructible forever as opposed to just one turn.
So I play this in Rograk, and when I want to keep my commander alive, because it gives you like with Colossus Hammer 11 power to double strike kill someone, but then you can just make your commander indestructible and call it a day. The good news is like you pay it and you're done, whereas with Plaza you have to hold 4 mana the entire game. To be ready in response, and like who can do that, right? Especially the decks that want this. Like you need to like play your equipment or your auras or whatever, right? So I guess if you're playing like Kenrith or something, but you can never do it because end of turn you like tap out to use an ability and then just kill your creature, right? You can't just hold 4 mana. So I agree with that. This card is actually trash. I think it's a trap card actually that people like. It's not even. It'd be if it was like a common, it'd be a good budget like land, but it's like an expensive land, so it doesn't really count, right? Like, yeah.
I will still say, if you're playing Legendary Matters, then I think it's actually pretty good fixing. Like, if a high percentage of your cards are legends, then it's actually like just a okay dual land because it's tapping for whatever. Kind of like Cavern of Souls in a tribal deck. Like, yeah, it's going to be colorless for some things, but if most of my deck is elves, then this is like actually a good dual land. So that's a place that I would be hyped for it. But yeah, just like, I don't think you jam it in every deck, but we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong because other people seem super high on this card. Anyway, I think that brings us to the end of our cast for today. Probably no time for fish mail, but Richard, if we get to some fish mail next week, where should people be sending their questions?
All right, queue them up on Twitter at MTGGoldfish with the hashtag MTGFishmail, and we'll get to them when there are less spoilers to talk about.
Yeah.
And I believe that brings us to the end of episode 395 of the MTG Goldfish podcast. So Richard Krim, thanks for hanging out. Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Card Conduit for supporting the show. And we will be back next week to talk about more Dominaria. We'll have the full set by then and whatever else goes on in the world of Magic. So until then, have a lovely week, everyone. And this is the crew signing out.